Guys, we got another awesome Doom Tools episode. We got one of the best Magic players to ever sleeve up this stupid cardboard game that we play. We got Gindy. What's going on, Gindy? How you doing, buddy?
Hey Josh, how's it going, man? I'm doing good. Doing
Good,
good.
man.
Thank you.
Good. We hooked up. My brother Twitch. He said you're one of the best Magic minds ever, and I have to get a hold of you for this podcast. So here we are. I appreciate you
For
doing it,
sure.
man.
Anytime. Like I said,
So list some accomplishments before we talk about how you got into Magic. You got second Grand Prix in '02, first in '03, '04, second in '05, first '08 Hollywood Standard Pro Tour, and in '09 you
yeah.
won Nationals. Holy shit. You're probably the best player I've ever talked to.
Yeah.
So on this episode, we're going to talk about a little bit about your background, how you got into Magic, how you became such a good player. And I try to gear this podcast towards like tournament play. I play CDH myself, and I'm going to talk about, hey, what's the mindset? What's this? What's that? I got to get some good stories from you. So let's hop into it,
Sure,
man.
man.
When did you start playing Magic?
Yeah, I started back in 1997, right around the Tempest pre-release.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a couple friends that bought some Portal decks, the like starter Magic cards back then. Were called Portal cards, and they got some for like their birthday or Christmas,
Portal.
and they had me play a game with them, and I just got hooked like almost immediately. I had my mom buy me cards, and spent the summer playing cards with my friends. Back then, this was before sleeves. I'm sure you've seen some of those videos
Oh
where kids are just on
no.
the sidewalk
Just
shuffling
rifle
the
shuffling
cards,
on the
riffle
concrete.
shuffling.
No.
Doesn't like the card. There are 100
Oh,
cards. You're riffle shuffling. You're on the
no.
concrete,
No.
and you just don't even care.
No.
I mean, it was just a good, fun
Stop it.
game
My
back
Black
then.
Lotus, my Lion's Eye Diamonds. Oh, get out of here.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can't tell you how expensive some of the cards are that I probably destroyed. But yes, for sure. I started. I was 12 years old, and
Mhm.
it just. I liked chess before playing Magic, and I played a lot of sports. So like the it was a game that kind of fed into both of those. You
Mm.
have the competitive nature of sports, and you have the analytics of chess, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm.
That's basically how I got started.
Cool. So, yeah, so how'd you shift into like competitive play and being one of the best players ever?
Oh sure. I mean, it always starts at the local level.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple friends. Hey, let's go play a tournament, and you play in your first tournament. You either no, you don't do great normally. I think I went 2-2 in my first tournament that I ever played in that was sanctioned,
Mm.
and you just kind of like get it. You either enjoy it and you want to keep doing it,
Mm-hmm.
or it's not for you. But most people, if you go to one tournament, you're gonna just get completely hooked into it. And that's where it started for me, is the local level. I started. There was a weekly tournament me and my friends could go to when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
So every Sunday, it was the one day a week, we'd get to sleeve up cards and go and play Magic all day.
Cool.
And that was really fun. This is before Magic Online existed, so it's
Mm-hmm.
98, 99. My first PTQ comes up in Jacksonville, Florida. It was
Hey.
a sealed. It was a sealed deck, Urza Saga. No clue what I was doing. I just went because my friends were going, and eventually you go into more and more of those
Mm-hmm.
around Mercadian Masks. So
Oh my
you
god.
probably, I guess, sets came about every 3 to 4 months back then. So another
Nowadays,
year
every
and a
two
half
weeks.
later, my first PTQ top eight was
Mm.
Mercadian Mask Block Constructed, playing Rising Waters. This is the year 2000. Prophecy had just come out.
Wow.
So it's like, and once you get your first PTQ top eight, you kind of
It's
realize
over.
everybody is fallible. You can do it just as well as everybody else. It's,
Mm-hmm.
the first couple wins when you're like, you play against somebody you think is really good, and you see them just, they lose, or they're not winning as easily as you think they should. And you're like,
Right.
everybody is on the same level. It's
They're
just,
human too. Huh. Yeah.
Everybody's a human. You just have to know that you can, if you make the best decisions,
Mhm.
eventually you're gonna get paid off, just like any numbers game, right?
Right.
Like sometimes it's better to mulligan than it is to just risk it on a 4 card 3 land hand that doesn't have anything for the first 2 turns.
Mhm.
You have lands, you
Mhm.
have spells. Are you doing anything?
Right.
Maybe not, because
Right.
you might be dead before you do your first play.
Mhm.
So
So
it's
you try to get a 3-4 turn kind of mindset with with your hands.
you always need to be thinking slightly ahead. You don't want to put yourself too far ahead
Mhm.
because you can't really predict that. But
Mhm.
especially in your hand, you should be gaming like your game plan. You want to make sure you're sequencing your mana and sequencing your mana efficiency. Is
Mhm.
sometimes it's better to cast your 2 drop on turn 3 so you can have 2 2 drops on turn 4, or you know something along those lines. So
Mhm.
it's just the 3 drop you want to save for turn 5, where you can 3 drop 2 drop instead of doing it on turn 3.
Mhm.
It's
Well, the little
it's
stuff
really
counts. Is what you're saying?
yeah.
It
Every
adds up,
little
right?
decision, there's macro decisions, but
Yeah.
back before, in the early days of Magic, when I was doing pretty well, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
this is an entirely different time because planeswalkers don't exist,
Oh,
right?
in
This is a
2000?
game. 2008 or 2007 is when planeswalkers came around.
Oh, I didn't
Right
know that.
around there. Yeah. No, planeswalkers didn't exist in the early games of Magic, so like your decision tree was much easier. Like your life total mattered more, but
Mhm.
you didn't
Creatures were a
have to
lot
worry about
worse.
like a permanent coming into play that you're going to have to attack. It's
Mhm.
just combat was combat. Spells went to player's face or whatever. So
Right.
it's it's definitely a different game back then. You could just run people out of resources. You can't run people out of resources now. You like every
Right.
card draws a card. Every card makes a card. Every card does something.
Especially my
Back
format.
then, there were 2 mana tutus that were played and constructed because they had a creature type, basically, or they had 2 mana tutu first strike lifelink with a creature type. You're like,
Oh
that's a
my
great
god,
card.
yeah.
That's all you need is
Yeah.
2 mana 2/2 first strike, and it has the creature type Kithkin, so it goes with the rest of my Kithkin. That's what you wanted in a Magic card. But like now,
Ocelot
you
Pride,
can't
1
play
mana
that. You
as a
can't even
paragraph.
get away with it. Yeah, the power creep. It just kept going and going. Like
Oh yeah.
it you can see it in the Modern Horizons sets or
Mhm.
whatever, where
Mhm.
all of those sets have taken over Modern. If you
Nadu,
like,
the best
Mardu, the
Mardu
Mardu
energy.
energy deck.
Yeah.
If you take out every card from just Modern Horizons, it's like 4 Thoughtseize and some
That's
land.
it. Yeah.
That's it.
And
It's
that
all
deck's
Modern Horizons
cracked.
cards.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like I
Mhm.
get it. The cards are so much better now.
Mhm.
That's what, like, why would you play these old cards for nostalgia? That's about it. Like
Mhm.
the cards they're weaker naturally because they weren't pushed. Now everything is pushed to try to keep selling product, and
Right.
it's still a great game. I love it. It's
Right.
just they need to. Commander is a great way to make it the resources better. Like
Mhm.
having 40 life means the game goes longer, right?
Yep.
Is it that way in CDH? They have 40 life, or
Correct. Yep. CDH
yeah.
is
So
the same thing as EDH. Just we're trying to win as fast as we can. It's combo trying
sure,
to win. It's competitive EDH. There's no rule changes, no nothing. Like I don't know if you played Commander, right?
I have played it. I don't really
Okay.
play it,
So,
but
yeah, so Commander's like a casual like format, and like Rule Zero is like, hey, don't counter my commander or my land
sure.
instructions. We're just trying to have a good time, right? CDH Rule Zero is we're trying to win. Right. And then now I'm getting out of
Fantastic.
casual CDH at the dinner table, like with Twitch and them. Now we're playing tournaments where it's, hey, because CDH isn't a format technically, right? So
Sure.
I got you. So doing that, once you got into it, right? 02, 03, 05, 08, 09. Once you got
Yeah,
in, I think they call it the circuit. Once you're
yeah.
in there, what is it like? Are you traveling every month or every 3 months to different big tournaments? Is it a full time job at that point? Is it a full time grind? Do you need play groups? Like, I'm trying to get in the mind of that 20 years ago. I can't fathom being on the pro tour. Like, what is that like?
It's I mean, yeah, at that point I did quit my job because the job I was doing wouldn't have allowed me to travel in the amount I needed
Mm-hmm.
to go to these tournaments.
Right.
And it's worth it once you get to a certain, back then they were called like levels
Mm-hmm.
of professional level or whatever. Once you get to a certain level, they start giving you appearance fees
Oh,
and giving you like one flight to one professional event each
oh,
year
I
and
didn't
stuff
know
like
that.
that. So the perks were worth going and stop and not worrying about a job.
Right. So
But
you can play without being out of your pocket at all.
you could do it, yeah, and as long as you continue doing
Well,
even decently
yeah,
well,
yeah.
like if you're making day two and cashing, they paid for your flight,
Mm,
they paid for, I got like when I went to Japan, I got a free flight,
Japan.
and
Oh my,
yeah,
that's the dream. What is Japan
yeah,
like?
it was great. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed the country,
Hmm.
and I I crashed and burned. I started out 9-3, but
Hmm.
I didn't cash because I just, like I said, I crashed and burned and went 1-4 in the last five rounds or whatever
Hmm.
to not make it. But or 1-3. Anyways, yeah,
Yeah, it's all good.
yeah. No, it was it's not something that's for everyone for sure because it's traveling week. Back then there was a Grand Prix circuit too, so you were
Hmm.
going to a tournament probably once every 2 to 3 weeks
Oh wow,
depending on how much you wanted to travel.
I
And
thought it was quarterly. I didn't
they
know it was that fast.
it was well, the Grand Prix circuit wasn't quarterly, right? You
Hmm.
could have one each weekend if you really wanted to go all out. Like if you were
Hmm.
a Shuhei Nakamura, you would go to Japan, then you go to the next one that was in wherever in Europe, then you come to the one in America, then you could come to the next one in
Oh
America.
my
They
god.
had them every week. They were just all around the world, so
Right.
kind of space it out so everybody gets a chance to play them.
Hmm.
But if you wanted to be a world grinder, you could. If you really wanted to try to get those pro points and get
Hmm.
more levels and more money,
Hmm.
I mean, there were people that did that. I dedicated myself to play as many North American Grand Prix that year as I could,
Right.
and unfortunately, I did not. I did not do well in any of them. I think I did well in 2010. I top aided or no, 2011. I top aided Grand Prix Atlanta,
Yep. You
which
got
was
seventh.
stated. Yeah, I got seventh in
Hmm.
that one, but like I had a bunch of just not even close calls. My decks were my sealed decks were terrible,
Hmm.
and
So
I can't.
So
Yeah,
what is a Grand Prix? So it says you have a few Grand Prix, you have a Pro Tour, and then you won the Nationals, and then Grand Prix in 11.
Grand
What's the
Prix
difference?
are yeah. So Pro Tours are like the big quarterly events.
Hmm.
They're
That's the
the
big dog.
big
Yeah.
invite
Right. That's
only.
the
So
pros.
like you have to
Yeah.
either win a Pro Tour qualifier or back then it was top eight of Grand Prix. Grand
Oh,
Prix
okay. There's levels to
where
this
they
shit.
were open,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's like yeah, you get to
Okay.
the
Okay.
Ascension and the Pro
Okay.
Tour is normally back then it was like 300 250 to 350
Hmm.
100 players all around the world
Hmm.
in one location. You play 16 rounds of whatever the format is.
Hmm.
Back then, they didn't have
Modern.
split formats. It was just 16 rounds of standard or 16 rounds of extended or 16 rounds of limited.
Hmm.
If that's what they were going to do, it would be drafts. Um, like 2004 before in Amsterdam, it was Rochester Draft, uh, which is an old format that they are archaic format. I would say it's a great format,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really slow. It takes forever, and it's not fun to watch. Very political, and people get butthurt basically
Hmm.
because it's almost like a football draft, a snake draft,
Okay.
where you open you'd open the pack
Mm-hmm.
one at a time. So there's 3 packs, 24 people, or eight people. That's 24 packs, one at a time. Set them all out. I take one, you take one, you take one, you take
Mm-hmm.
one. Snakes, you take two. Snakes back. So you get one card out of that pack.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else gets two, and then it goes to the next person. They open a pack, and it goes around.
Oh, this seems
And
like it takes
people,
forever.
you have to do this silently. So basically, you have to kind of like eyeball people without like telling, and just like take cards and set them down hard to try to like, this is mine. I want to play this,
Yes, I found it.
and
Yeah.
hope people agree, because if if the person beside you just decides they want to start taking green cards
Or
after you took
Esper.
3 green cards,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? They've got first pick of green cards, and they know it for the rest of
Oh,
the rest of the draft. So
right.
it's a very like political and hard format, but it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not something they're gonna ever do again. It's the same thing with the team Grand Prix that I top aided back then. They would always do Team Rochester draft,
Okay, team limited.
which yeah, the
Yep.
team limited Grand
Yep, I
Prix.
have that written on. Yep.
Um,
Pittsburgh and Washington.
yeah, Pittsburgh,
Woo, go Steelers.
Washington,
Yep.
and then Chicago.
Chicago,
Go
yeah.
Steelers.
I got it. I got
Yeah,
it.
the Pittsburgh was the first one. That was
Mm-hmm.
in '03.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You got second?
that was my
Yeah.
like first. That was my first like top 8 and my second professional event or whatever.
Right.
I had played in a one pro tour before that.
Yeah, you started off hot. You got second place that one, and then the following year you got first in Washington
Yeah.
at the Grand Prix. Started off
Yeah.
with a fucking bang, dude.
Yeah, I didn't play a lot of events, but the events I played, I did tend to do pretty well in.
Yeah.
I just couldn't like commit myself to like playing more and travel more.
Mm.
I it's fun.
Traveling's
I love
rough.
doing it, but it's just like anything, the massive. If you travel so far and you get land screwed or whatever, it's just massively disappointing.
Oh, yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like,
Right.
especially when you're like committing yourself and you've done it for years and years, and you're just like,
And now you got to think about it
man,
in a
how many more
drive.
disappointments can I take? So
Right.
that's at a point I would just kind of. You'll even notice a lot of my tournaments are just committed to like Orlando and Atlanta for a while.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to go any further.
You got
And I
Chicago,
did
you got
well
Hollywood.
in that region.
Hollywood in 08. That's pretty far. There's a Hollywood.
Yeah,
Florida.
Hollywood. I won the PTQ that was in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh,
So like I won a PTQ in Jacksonville.
Okay.
That was like I had a free weekend. I heard there was a PTQ. I went and bought a deck that was like $180 back then, because back then Magic cards weren't so expensive that they would kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh yeah.
I bought the whole deck. It was like $180 for a storm deck.
Mm-hmm.
Bought it, went to the PTQ, won the PTQ, and then it was like, okay, well, now I have a free like invite to the Pro Tour.
Sweet.
And a flight that is booked for me. So like
buy your
now
food?
I just gotta figure out like my hotel, my food, and make sure I can get off of work. So I got off work, went to the tournament. I got
Mm-hmm.
I got fortunate that weekend. I did prepare a bunch after I won the PTQ.
Mm-hmm.
Back then I played online a lot. So it was like me and my roommates would play like standard on Magic Online. I would just go play the premier events.
I didn't know Magic
every
Online
night
was a
after
thing
that
in
tour.
03, 04.
What's up?
I didn't know Magic Online was a big thing back then.
Magic Online actually started right around Invasion. So around 2001, 2002, the
Yeah,
program was in its infancy.
in 2002.
It wasn't a huge thing back then, but like a lot of the tournament grinders you see today, like started, or even in the early 2000s, started back then. Like, I mean, I remember playing against FF Freak and FF Freak's brother like tons of times in the early 2000s and 2004 and 2005
Mhm.
when they were just people I played in premier events on the regular, and I'm like, man, these guys are good. And it turns out to be Brad Nelson and Corey Baumeister.
Oh,
Like
geez. That's cream of the crop.
they end up being very very good.
Mhm.
You would just play against Cedric Phillips and Tommy Ashton on the regular
Mhm.
against David Shields and the Jarvis Yu.
Doesn't that make you better
There
though
used to
as a
be a
player?
what's up?
Doesn't that make you better as a player? That's
Oh,
your competition?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, you want to play against the better competition. You
Right.
don't.
Right. Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't do you any favors to be the biggest fish in the small pond.
Yeah.
Once you're once you've gotten all the knowledge you can from a certain group,
Mhm.
it's either do I want to go further and become better at the game, or do am I happy being where I am? Like, and some people they just want to be, hey, I'm the best in my store. I don't really care to go any further than that.
Mhm.
I take the game casually. Cool. And that's perfect. That's why the
Right.
game is great.
Yeah.
You don't have to be competitive. If
Mhm.
you want to be competitive, once you get to that point, that's what I had to do. Once I was winning the weekly tournament in my store every week,
Mhm.
I found PTQs. All right, now I'm not winning anymore because I can't always win a PTQ.
Mhm.
All right, now I go to 5 PTQs in a season. I top eight, two of the five. All right, that's a good conversion rate, but I got to get better.
Mhm.
And you keep pushing yourself. Now I'm top eighting 4 of 5, and I'm making the finals one of those four.
Mhm.
All right, I'm almost there. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Eventually, just like my friend Min Win is a perfect example of that. He was playing with me back in 2014, 2015, grinding the PTQ circuit. He recently won the regional championships.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, he won the last U.S. regional championship, and
Good for him.
like he's been pushing for years. He keeps going. He goes to tournaments weekly. He goes to the PTQs. He tries to, or now the RCQs, as they're called now.
Right.
But he keeps pushing and he makes himself better. He surrounds himself with people that are like minded, that
Mhm.
want to make themselves better, and he tries to continue playing. That's one of the biggest things is if you want to get better, just keep playing. It's the best way to get better
Mhm.
because you can read as much as you want. You can watch all the videos. You can study play patterns until
It's not
you
like doing it.
get in the trenches and kind of
It's kind of like
feel
me.
it for yourself.
Yeah, I listen to all these podcasts. I do all my research. I have a podcast myself. I'm talking to all these huge CDH players, but then we just like what you said. It feels bad when you go to somewhere and you have to leave. It was a CCS in Georgia. It's a 6 hour drive. A couple months ago, and we're going on in November. It's 6 hour drive. We got a B&B, got up early, played, and I went 0-4 and I scrubbed out. So then the next day they did like a redemption tournament and I did bad in that and the 6 hour drive back and I get home at midnight Sunday and I'm like, I wasted time, money, and I'm just like, ugh. But you're right though. There's levels to this shit, and I need to surround myself with better players. And not even that. Like I have a decent group, but like they play more online. But it's playing. I don't play as much. Like you said, I talk the talk. I don't walk the walk yet. I'm kind of like right there. Like I've won smaller 30, 40 person CDH tournaments, but I haven't like top 16 to 200, 300 person tournament. I'm like right there. And you're right. I need to there's no excuses. I need to grind and I need to play more. And I'm glad you said that because I want to get into it. In 2009, you're the best player in the world. Like statistically, you won the nationals. Can you talk us through that tournament? And it's a standard booster draft. How the fuck
Yeah.
do you
So
win a goddamn nationals off a draft? Like, is that luck? Is
um,
that skill? Can you teach that? Like, you gotta run me through that, man. How did that feel winning it like that?
oh, So winning nationals was amazing. You know, it was
Mhm.
actually like little kid dream or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like as
I watched it today.
growing up,
Holy shit.
that's one of the things I was like, man, I want to be the guy, like the
Yeah.
national champion.
And you were.
And yeah, no, for
Congratulations.
sure. It's like I said, it was like a dream or
Is
whatever.
it a
But
big
it's so
board?
it was part standard
Mhm.
and part booster draft. There were 6 rounds of draft
Mhm.
and 10 rounds of standard. So, and standard
Mm.
portion of the draft, because so you'd play 5 rounds of standard,
Okay.
then do a draft and play 3 rounds of booster draft, and then the next morning you booster draft, you play the 3 rounds of draft, and then 5 more rounds of standard. Cut to top 8, play standard. So it was mostly standard,
Wow.
but that's how they do professional tournaments. Pretty much go from
Hmm.
that was the back then they only did that at nationals, and then they took that from nationals and moved that to professional events because that's what they do it now at all the pro
Is that
tours
what they
is
do?
it's yeah, they do like 3 rounds of draft
Mhm.
and then 5 rounds of constructed, and the
Mhm.
day 2 3 rounds of draft, 5 rounds of
What set
constructed,
was
and then
that in
whatever the
'09?
constructed format is the top 8.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that was I was playing 5 color control. It was one of the
Ooh.
most popular decks of
Cruel
the
Ultimatum,
format.
baby.
Yeah, you get to play the Vivid Lands and Reflecting Pools back then,
Mhm.
so you could get all the mana. The most popular decks were like there was an elf ball deck
Mhm.
that was like basically a green creature deck trying to play as many green little
Elves.
elves
Yeah.
as fast as they
They're
can.
still
I'm sure
good.
you're familiar with
Elf
that.
Ball's still good.
Uh,
Yep.
it's a very
Yep.
timeless strategy, let's say.
Mhm.
Um, Fairies was one of the most popular decks back then. There was Bitter Blossom and Thoughtseize were still in
Mm.
standard. Powerful
Yep.
combination. So a lot of people played that. Um, and you know, there was a Kithkin deck. There was a lot of different. That top 8 had some weird like makeshift mannequin, evoke elemental, like shriek mob, and mole drifters and makeshift mannequins and just
The Evoke
kind of a
guys.
value
Yeah.
4 color deck. It was kind of weird, but there was a few people that played it and they all did pretty well.
Mm.
So, but in this top 8, getting to the top 8, I played fairly well. I think I went 5-1 in limited.
Oh
Um,
shit.
my one loss was to Sam Black, very famous Magic player
Yeah, he's a big
now.
CDH player.
Big CDH
He's
player,
huge. He's one
yeah.
of the best. Mhm.
And he was even back then he was really good Magic player.
Hmm.
He beat me in limited.
I'm trying to get
Um,
him on the pod.
uh, I'm sure he would do it if he has
Yeah,
time.
he's cool.
He doesn't. He tries to help people out, and especially he
Mhm.
loves CEDH from what I can see on his Twitter.
Yep.
Um, so, but yeah, no, I did pretty well in the constructed portion. I lost to Paul Reitzel. I lost to Sam Black, and my other loss was to my Matthias Hunt. Um,
How do you remember that?
Paul Reitzel, you might know, he was a Pro Tour winner, and he's very famous, very Hall of Fame level Magic player.
Okay.
So like I lost to some very good Magic players, but I still ended up winning the tournament. I got very very lucky in the finals. I played the 5 color mirror, and in game 4 he resolved Identity Crisis, which exiles target player's hand in a control mirror matchup.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
he resolved exile your hand, and 10 turns later, I won that game, and it's still like a blur of like I got incredibly lucky for him to draw basically nothing, and me to draw a running slew of cards
Hmm.
that allowed me to win the game. Um, I
Wow.
have a couple of stories like that, like winning the PTQ that I won for the Pro Tour that I won.
Hmm.
It is incredibly lucky in the finals where I'm playing Storm, like I said earlier,
Hmm.
and my opponent was playing Death Cloud, and they Death Cloud all of my
Ugh.
permanents away,
Yep.
and I had a chromatic sphere. That was all I had in play. He had Garrick with 5 counters, the 4-mana
Yep.
Garrick,
The green.
Wild Speaker.
Yep. Yep.
Wild Speaker.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm just dead basically. But I drew Lotus Bloom, and then I drew a couple of random cards in a row. I know Lotus Bloom's going to come off,
Mm-hmm.
and it just happened to between his 2 Thought Seizes and the Death Cloud for 4. And I had exactly 6 spells somehow with my Burning Wish and my Tendrils in my sideboard
Mm-hmm.
to kill him. And it's just like statistical anomalies do happen
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So don't concede if you have outs, obviously.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure everybody says that, but like,
Yeah, that's very popular.
that's
People just concede.
sometimes
Yeah.
you hit 5 runners in a row or whatever. Like,
So it's not just all skill. Like the little luck is involved.
no,
Okay.
no, of course.
That was my next question.
It's not all skill.
Mhm.
You have to be like obviously even the Seth, like he has that famous like setting up my cruel
The call
ultimate
out.
mana.
We
like,
talked about it, man.
Yeah,
that pod's coming up in a couple weeks.
It's lucky in some instances, but like it's also playing to your outs.
Yep.
Like you can't always have what you need in your hand, so you have to build a board state or at least make a board state that's going to happen in 1 or 2 turns that allows you to draw that card or draw 1 or 2 different cards that allow you to win those games.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you put yourself in those situations, the more likely you are to win games, which will allow you to win tournaments. And something somebody asked me a long time ago was like, when you're playing really long tournaments, like how do you keep winning? Like it's hard to keep winning, and it is hard to keep winning.
Being consistent.
But one game at a time. That's how. Is you just play. Don't think about I'm 7-0. It's you sit down and you're like, this is the first game of Magic I'm playing today against this person. Doesn't matter what their record is, what my record is. Play the game just like you would in round 1. Mm-hmm. You have to take each game, each person the exact same. Yeah, like sometimes factoring in their skill level is a good thing. Mm-hmm. You want to like if you're playing against somebody who's trying to figure out what your hand is almost as much as they're trying to figure out what your hand is, then you want to lead them in a direction that lets them know this is what I have in my hand when you don't have it. But if you're not playing against somebody who they're going to play the cards in their hand, then why am I wasting my mental energy trying to make them think that I have a Spell Pierce in my hand when it doesn't matter. They're going to play they're going to play into the combo whether I have that blue mana up or not.
Right.
Like this, so
it sounds like poker.
In a way, it is.
Yeah.
In the finals of nationals against Adam Yurchik in Game 5, he like bounced my Ajani in step with a Cryptic Command, untapped with it, untapped his land and said go, and I like played my 8th land and played Ajani, knowing he couldn't get into a counter war with me without leaving himself open. So he just let it resolve. If he counters it, I lose. I can't really win the game, but I need him to not understand that. I want him to think I have this Cryptic Command so that the rest of his game is playing scared, which is what happened and allowed me to win that game when I think I was going to lose.
Holy shit! You playing some mind tricks, baby.
You're not going to win every game by drawing perfect. You have to also know, like, there's an old Adam Yurchik video where he's playing Storm and he's playing against Ross Merriam, and he knows that his opponent has Surgical Extraction in his hand. And he can only cast Tendrils for 8 spells, 9 spells, because his opponent's at 19. He's 1 spell short. But he Infernal Tutors for a Cabal Ritual to make him think that the Cabal Ritual threshold is important. when it wasn't. And he goes to cast the Cabal Ritual, which Ross Merriam takes him off of the threshold, but that didn't matter. He just needed him to cast one more spell so he could kill him with the Tendrils of Agony. But he can't win
Oh.
the game any other way. If he just lets him resolve the Cabal Ritual and go, 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 he's going to cast his Tendrils of Agony for 18 and then have no cards in hand
And then he has
and never be able to win the
and then he
game.
has a turn. Yeah.
Yeah, and then his opponent untaps and just wins.
What does surgical do again? You exile a card from the graveyard for free.
It's a
right?
pay. It's a 1 black or 1 Phyrexian black mana.
Mhm.
Exile target card in target player's graveyard, and then exile all copies of the same card. So
Okay, that's why that card was
he's
played.
just trying. And Cabal Ritual has threshold,
Yep.
which he needs exactly 7 cards.
Yep.
Right.
That's a CDH
and so
card.
he was keeping them off a threshold
Mhm.
by casting the Cabal or the surgical extraction. But
Wow.
once he
Bait and
casts the
switch,
surgical
baby.
extraction, he sees the bad news
Yeah.
that if he just let him go and continue what he was doing, he can't win.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh man, I thought you had another Infernal Tutor because he took the Infernal Tutor. No, I didn't have another Infernal Tutor. I just needed you to cast another spell.
Right.
And it's sometimes you have to do stuff like that because you can't win the game otherwise.
Right.
Those are rare, but like when you win those games, you feel so smart. You know, like you're just like, man, I won a game that was basically unwinnable, but
Right.
like I won by making them think something was important when it wasn't.
Yeah, that's amazing because it is against the best players in the world, right? You have to do stuff like that, and that's what I like about in real life games is I watched some videos today of you, and the commentators were like way off. They were trying to figure out what you were thinking, what your opponent was thinking, and then you guys would do something else, and they're like, "Why would they do that?" And then 2 turns later, you see why they did that, and it's like you have no idea what's in their brain. We can't pick it, so like it's totally different being in the game. Like what you just said, no one probably explained to anybody. Like he was thinking, if I do this, I do that, I do this, I'll do this, I do that, I do this, and then I won because of it. Like no one, you can't watch that outside looking in and know that.
No, for sure. Even the commentators, once he went to cast the surgical, they were like, "No way! There's no way he actually is casting it," because like they have all the information, but like
Right.
if you without perfect information, it's genius, right?
Yeah,
And that's why like this game is very skill intensive while also being, like I said, it kind of face up, just like any game where like, yeah, sometimes you just get the best possible draw and you kill them on turn 1 and there's no disruption that could have stopped it.
Yeah,
But
you can't do
those
nothing about
games are
that.
few and far between, right? Like
But opposite
those
too.
don't happen very often.
Yeah, that happens to you
those
too.
are gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you.
So, but the games you navigate and you're like, well, I wanted 1 life by using all my resources. Like I used every card I drew, used every life point I possibly could. I made sure I like used every creature, every planeswalker activation I possibly could, and I barely won. Those games, those are the games that make me keep playing.
Yeah.
You know, like
but nobody remembers that. They just remember, oh shit, 09 Gindy is the best player in the world. Right? Like nobody can take that away from you. It's on the internet web forever. Like
right. No, it was, I mean, it is amazing to like I said, little kid me would have been like jumping for joy because I want, you know, everybody wants to be number 1. And it's amazing to be like, yeah, at one point I was number 1 in the world.
Right.
And I can say that and everybody can look it up. It's verifiable.
You can hang it on hanging on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I love Magic. I would love to play competitively again.
I love that. Yeah, let's get into that a little bit. So after that, 09, 11, and 11, you got 7th. So moving forward from then, I believe you played in 2016, 2015, you were doing some things. Like, how do you live up to that? Like, hey, 4 or 5 years ago, I was the best player in the world. Is that just an added pressure that you didn't want? Because after 09, the big fog of the best player in the world, now you have to come back to reality. Oh, okay, it's a new season. How do you live up to that pressure?
Yeah, that's that's
Is that the
hard
hardest
for
part?
sure.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it really is. Yeah, like people, you think you did pretty well at a tournament by top 32 or top 64.
Mhm.
You went 10-5 or 11-5, and it's a good record. You're 66% win rate, which is above a bit above average, which is where you want to be. You want to be
Mhm.
somewhere in the 60 to 70% win rate
Mhm.
on average. And like they're like, well, you've won tournaments, so like this is below average for you.
Mm.
Like, yeah, I know, but like
That's,
it's still a good
that's still really
tournament. You're
good.
like,
Yeah.
but like it doesn't feel as good because
Right.
you have those accomplishments, so people expect more of you. Um, it, it, I for a while it's hard to keep up with that. Like
Mhm.
I like you said, from like 2008 to 2011, I won a tournament every year, at least one.
Mhm.
Like I won something. I won an SEG. I won I won nationals. I won the Pro Tour. I won. I top eighted the Grand Prix. I almost won that. I guess I didn't win anything in 11, but like
Mhm.
I tried to win. Tried to keep up this almost unfathomable win a giant tournament once a year, and
Yeah.
it's even that is hard. Like those people who top eight every weekend, more power to them, man. Like that, it's not easy. You're not only are you preparing well,
Mhm.
you're staying one step ahead of these people that are also trying to stay one step ahead of everybody
Right.
else.
Right. And they're not scrubs. They're people like you.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
no. Most of these
The
people
Sam
are not.
Blacks. The. Mhm.
Yeah, you're still going to be playing against the Luis Scott Vargases, the back then the Josh Uder Laytons, the Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosas would go to the Grand Prix around the world.
John
You randomly
Finkel's.
play
The.
against them. Like I played
Ty.
against Paulo at a random Grand Prix in like Chicago or Kansas City or something, where I was like, I'm 2-3. Like, what the hell is this bullshit? Like, why am I playing against Paulo Vitor at this Grand Prix where my deck's not good and like my record's not good?
Oh, that's so funny.
Like,
I love your self reflection. Why? Like,
yeah,
well, I'm trashed
why?
right
Like,
now. Why am I playing
yeah,
against
I'm
this
like,
guy, Judge?
why? Sometimes it just feels like that. You're
That's
like
funny.
one of the better players in the world is playing against me. My deck is not good, and my record is obviously not good.
Mhm.
Why is this my life right now?
That's so
it's
funny.
it yeah.
That,
It's just funny to think back on. Like
yeah.
obviously there's is it something I would like to do again? Yes, but like it's much harder to do anything kind of professionally currently, just because I have I have a small child now. Like I have a 2.5 year old,
Cool.
so
Awesome.
a lot of my free time is dedicated to
Yeah, I have
him.
5.
And
I know.
yeah, I know we're all getting older.
Yeah, yeah. My wife just told me I'm
I'm
thinning. I'm getting fucking old.
Yeah, I'm getting there too, man. Like,
Thinning.
I'm nearly 40. I would love to go and try to play like one or two big tournaments a year, which is what I told my friend Min. He
Mhm.
asked me earlier this year. He was like, "Hey, man, like if we got a team together, is it something you're interested in? Would you want to try to play like and go to these tournaments with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to, but my job, I work Wednesday through Sunday. I have
Mhm.
Monday and Tuesday off every week. So tournaments happen Saturday and Sunday. I have to request off time from work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I miss time, I miss money.
Mhm.
And then I'm also losing my weekend to go that I could be spending with my son to go play Magic all weekend, which would be fun, like I said, once, maybe twice a year. But I don't
Mhm.
think I could be like,
Yeah.
5 to 20 times, which is what you really need to do. Like somewhere in the
Mhm.
10 to 20 times a year, you'd be going on a
Yeah,
weekend trip.
I got you. You're not giving
Just
yourself.
like I'm sure
Yeah, you
you're
can't commit to the time to prepare because you are
right,
busy.
but I'm
Right.
saying
That's kind
like
of where
I'm
I'm at.
sure just like a CDEDH, if you're going to those tournaments, you're going probably two, at least one a month, if not two a month,
Yeah.
to like,
Yep. For sure.
like to try to compete and get better and
Mhm.
like either like when you go, I know like I understand CEDH because back in my day,
Back
before
in my day,
EDH, before back in my day, not to sound like a grizzled veteran,
before
but like
wrestling. Yeah.
back in what year was this? It was so in the 2010 range, in the 2009 2010, before EDH existed on Magic Online, there was a format called 100 card singleton.
Oh,
It's
that's what it
literally
was called.
CEDH, but one on one. Your life total is 20, and it's magic. Like then there's no commander. So
Oh,
like
okay.
yeah, it's no commander, 20
Sounds
life,
like a
100
brawl, right?
cards, singleton. Kind of like brawl, but like this was everything's legal.
Oh,
So
oh
everything that was
shit!
on Magic Online was legal, which back then
Sounds like a
they didn't have
blast.
power, but like
Right.
that was still like all the tutors were legal. They had like a small ban list after like a little bit, but like a lot of their bans didn't make sense. I'll say that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It, uh, me and my friends, I like every weekend. I woke up, it started at noon on Sunday. I played it every weekend because I knew I was going to either top eight or win the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the decks were like very fun and interactive and like
Dude.
so the play patterns were different every time because it's commander or
Yeah.
like EDH. And back then, I like I said, I knew very much. I'm very much familiar with all the mystical tutor and light tutor,
Come
vamper
on. You
tutors.
you
Just
talking you're
trying,
talking my
yeah,
jam, dog. That's the
yeah,
CDH
just
cards.
anything. Get that little bit of I'll go get the one combo piece I'm missing. Get you dead. Just
Mhm.
I I love the aspect of CEDH.
Mhm.
I don't think I enjoy the political aspect of it,
Okay.
where because I understand a lot of it is, hey man, if you do that, then he's gonna do this, and I'm gonna win the game. If
That's
you
the
want to
big
do that, that's all on
misconception,
you.
man. A lot
That's
of
on
players say
you.
that. It's not what you think it is.
It's
Trust me.
not what I think.
I do you know Brian Koval?
Brian Cowell,
He's
yeah,
one of the
yeah, yeah.
best
I'm
legacy
familiar
players.
with
He's one of the best
PK.
CDH players. And
Okay.
he has a YouTube channel and he says that. He's like, I'm trying to get my fellow 60 card players. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's 4-player and their politics. I'm so
Mm.
scared. Dude, you're a type of player that you would fucking crush it. I'm telling you, it's not this big, bad, scary thing that everyone's like, well, I don't want to win because he made a deal with that guy. There's levels to this shit. There's casual
Oh
commander,
no.
the most popular format we have, and then there's CDH like dinner table. We're hanging out. Like Twitch is having a thing in November for his birthday, and he wants to invite you. He's renting a B&B, and we're playing Magic all weekend. We're drafting.
Okay.
We're doing cubes. We're playing CDH, and he wants to invite you. That's that. And then you have tournament CDH, and that's all. We're playing for money. There is no politics, dog. You're not going to convince me to not counter your spell. There's $1,100 I'm about to win, right? Like, there's
Sure.
different levels. Like, there's metas and shit, and you would fucking do work. I'm telling you, I promise you. Sam Black, he's one of the best players. Brian Koval, all these older 60 card players, they're doing fucking work. You know why? Because they have a fucking background. The shit you're
Yeah.
saying of, hey, mind tricks, I do my Cabal Ritual, my Circle Extraction, and this and that and that. That's CEDH. Like, hey, maybe the biggest thing for me in CDH is you always want to try to go for it second, right? You never want to be that guy to just jam it, because you have three opponents. It's 1v3 to the person that's going for it, right? So control's really good in the format. It's the best deck right now. It's called Blue Farm. It's Tim Necrom, and it's Sands Green, and you just have ad nauseum. You have Necropotence, but it's control. I'm going to stop my player from winning, and then I'm going to go for it. I'm going to figure my way. I'm going to do these things how I want to do it, and I want to pick my windows when I want to pick them. And that's what it is, not fucking politics, right? Dude, if you don't want to politic, there's literally a rule now where you're like, hey guys, shut the fuck up, let me play my turn. Like, that's a rule. You can tell a judge, hey, I told them to be quiet. Can they be quiet while I play my turn? Right? It's not the crazy thing you think it is. And you have to come play with us. Twitch has a mono red dwarf deck. and it's top 10 CDH deck. Magda, Brazen Outlaw, look it up. You get
Magda.
5 treasures, you activate her, and you win instant speed. Like, it's
Yeah.
fucking shenanigans. It's jank.
Mhm.
It's crazy, but the deck's fucking insane. I'm telling you, you would fucking love it. I'm an advocate for
I'll
CDH, but I get it. It might not be for you, but I always tell people just try it. Just try with me, Twitch, and my buddies, and you're gonna be like, "What? I just won?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome." And the funny thing is, yeah, they're printing new cards, but 80% of the format is older cards, right? Mana Crypts and Lion's Eye Diamonds and Underworld Breaches, Rhystic Study, Mr. Grimora. A lot of these cards are older, right? Of course, you have the Dock Sides and the Thassa's Oracles. That's the newer stuff. But you're gonna be like, oh, I had a place set of these. What? I have a place set of
Mhm.
Lion's Eye Diamonds in '99. Like, what the fuck is this shit?
And it's crazy that like stuff like Mystic Remora and Ristic Study are so good because
Mm-hmm.
they were nigh unplayable for the longest
That's
time.
right, and they're the
But
best cards by far. Rhystic Study and Dockside
yeah,
Extortionist are the best cards in our format, and
oh,
that's what everyone said.
Dockside, yeah, I was Mystic Remora and Ristic Study. I'm just like those types of cards for years. I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
like garbage. Nobody would play that card.
They're not good in
Yeah,
60
you
card.
tax them for it doesn't do enough. You're wasting a card to like maybe replace it, and sometimes and just annoy the opponent. You're
Right,
like
but now you have
back
3
then the
opponents.
cards. Yeah, now with 3 opponents, obviously
Right,
it's way better.
and CDH
Like you're
players are
spending
greedy.
3 mana to get 3 mana every turn. Back then
Yeah.
it was like you're spending 3 mana to gain a mana, but you're
Mm-hmm.
only gaining the mana for like maybe a turn or two, but then they can start playing on curve again, and it's like you didn't do anything.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just literally wasted a piece of cardboard. So it's
Mm-hmm.
now I get it when it's 3 mana like every turn, and same with Smothering
Well, turn
Tide. The
1.
same that card could not even exist in a
Right.
real construct. If you spend 4 mana and you didn't do
Yeah, you
anything,
passed.
you're dead.
Yeah, yeah.
I've killed you,
Southern Tide is
like
one of the best
especially
white
now.
cards. Yep.
It's like
Smothering Tide and a Wheel of Fortune, game's over. Thanks, guys. I got 21 treasures. I'm winning the game. I'm casting my Atraxa Rare and Unifier, and I'm winning the game.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's that.
That's
Or this format is like Turbo Underworld Breach. I don't know
Smothering
if you're
Tide.
familiar with that combo. Underworld Breach, Brain Freeze, Lion's Eye Diamond, you win the game.
I am
So it's,
familiar. Yeah,
hey, turn 1 fetch
it's
land,
extreme.
mana crypt something. Turn 2 fetch land. I'm gonna gamble for my breach. If I don't discard my breach, I win the game. Because now I
Right.
cast it, I cast gamble out of my graveyard, get my LED, discard my hand. Okay, cast gamble and get my brain freeze. Now I just won on turn 2 on accident. But it's not
Right.
a
Right.
turn 2 format, right? There's one of the best decks right now is Rograk and Silas. It's Grixis. It's Turbo Grixis. It is fast. It consistently wins probably turn 3, and that's the fastest deck. Right? I tell people don't not play this format because you think it's just combo or you think it's just speed. Like, no, you have Esper Control, you have 4-color pile, 5-color pile, you have mid range, you have stacks, you have all types of different things. It matters what you want to do. And like, you have Twitch, like you can go to Twitch and be like, hey man, I like blue light control, or I like black this, or I like 5-color this. Give me a deck to play. And someone like you can look through the deck and go, oh, this is cool. And then you play, right? Like
Right.
we just went
Yes.
to SCG Con in Tampa. And our buddy Lum and he has buddy Leestead, and they've been playing
I
Magic for
mean,
20, 25 years. And I'm like,
yeah, I know. I know all those
yeah,
guys.
exactly. And we're like, hey, why don't you play this? I have a Temna Sakashima deck where it's 2 Temnas. You deal damage to an opponent and you can pay life to draw cards, right? So I was like, here's
Hmm.
this Esper control deck. And Lee lost, right? He lost and he goes, y'all want to play again? We had to convince him to play. We needed a 4th. And he's like, no, no,
Right.
no, 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 no. I just want a money draft. I'm like, come on, man, just try and see if you like it. As soon as he died, like he lost terribly that game. Y'all want to play again? We're playing again, right? And we're like, yeah, sure. And then
Yeah,
that
of
second game
course.
went on for a while. Then we had to go eat dinner, and he's hooked. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun to. He had a counterbalance, and then someone cast a toxic deluge, and you have to pay life to cast the spell. And then he flipped a toxic deluge to counter the toxic deluge. And he was like, oh my god, this is a blast. I love control. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like I love like how many formats there are, and I love like
Mhm.
just classic Magic. Like pre-modern is a intriguing. Like I would love to play
Yeah.
pre-modern. There's not really like a way for me to play it because
Hmm.
the community here is small and I don't like want to invest however many hundreds or thousands of dollars it would
Right.
cost to buy a deck
Right.
just to like play with 3 or 4 people. If
Hmm.
there was like real tournaments and stuff for me to like actually play in, sure, I'd probably start investing and trying to like at least go to those types of tournaments
Hmm.
because like that's a format that really intrigues me. I would love to
Pre-modern.
play more pre-modern. I think CEDH is fine, and I probably would enjoy it. But again, if there's not like it's just like any format of Magic, if you don't have like a good group of friends to like play with, then it's just like
Yeah.
what's the point?
Well, you're
Like
in a really good city for that, and like Spell Table is a huge thing. But Twitch and them are looking for players to play CDH. So I definitely wouldn't
sure,
use that as an excuse. But what I would do, like, don't worry about the money, don't worry about the decks. You know, me, my brother, and Twitch. I have a brother-in-law that I call my brother. We probably have 15 decks between us. Like, it's not a matter of, oh, I don't want to spend money. We will give you a deck. Go try it out, give it back to me in a couple months. Let me know what you think. Right? You can always proxy on
sure,
this too if we're going to tournaments. We like that's a thing because it's not about your wallet; it's about you, right? So
right,
I definitely like try to play when you can and like pre-modern too. Like my other brother, he's trying to get into modern right now, and that's his issue. There isn't really a good LGS for that, so he's like, I don't want to play Spell Table online and play modern. That's boring. I hate that. So he's gonna travel for it. He's in 20. He doesn't have any kids, right? He can do that, right?
right.
That's what he's doing. Before I let you go, it's been about an hour. Before I let you go,
No,
do
sure.
you have any advice for a newer competitive player? Not even just getting into CDH, but playing Modern or Pioneer. Do you have any advice for them because you have been one of the best players in the world at one point?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the best thing to do is play and learn your deck, especially in like modern format or legacy,
Hmm.
any of the formats. Is you need to know your deck and what your plan is against each opponent. Like
Hmm.
that's step one. Is before I even sit down, what is my plan against each deck? Because if you look at your opening 7 cards and you're like, well, I have a good hand, keep. Yeah, is your hand good against mono red? Is your hand good against
Hmm.
control? Is your hand good against mid range? Like, what's the most popular deck right now? Is that what he's probably playing? Do you think he's the type of person who's going to be playing a rogue deck, or the type of
Hmm.
person who's a tournament grinder who's going to be playing one of the top 3 decks? If he's one of those people, like, why am I keeping a hand that's not good against one of those decks? Like, why wouldn't I give myself even the smallest bit of extra advantage?
Hmm.
Just
Little thing
anything
like
you
that.
can any little edge you can gain anywhere. Like when you're done with your games, yeah, go see what your friends are doing, but does it hurt to like walk the tables
See what
and
everybody's
look at
playing.
what your other people are playing?
Hmm.
No, it doesn't
That's what
hurt.
I do.
Because if
Yeah.
you play against one of those people in the next 2 rounds, you have even that small more advantage. They might know what you're playing, so why not know what they're playing?
Right, right, right. You want all the little event. Yeah, people like, hey, I'm gonna go outside and go for a smoke. I don't smoke. You know what I do? I watch all the best players play. And the best thing,
Yeah,
it's not the only like biggest difference about a 60 card in CEDH. You sit to the table, right? You know your turn order when you get to the table, and then everybody reveals their commander. So then you go, oh, okay, I'm going second. There's a blue farm, there's a this, there's a that. So now you already know, like someone like me, you already know what they're playing and you already know what their game plan is. Most of the time,
right.
there always is a random fringe deck, right? Especially in CDH. But like those bigger pods, you know what's going on. And that's even before you look at any cards in your hand. And also, EDH is good with their mulligans. You get a free 7. You get a free 7 and look at another 7 and then you look and then a 6 and then you look and then you put 2 back for a 5. You can go as low as you want. So it's very forgiving.
Sure.
So you can go down to 6 easily and you're looking at 21 cards. And that's before anyone's put a spell in the stack. That's before anybody said anything. So it's like that is huge and that's probably the biggest difference. Especially someone like you can look at that and go, "Oh, I know this guy and he's going to try to win turn 2. Let me mulligan for this." And 60 card, that is the difference of you don't know what they're playing for a few turns. So it is good to know. Yeah.
That I mean, when you're playing competitively on a week to week
Yeah.
basis, if you don't know what they're playing on their first land drop,
You're losing.
you're not doing enough work. You're not doing enough work. You need to know what they're playing turn one. Like
Really?
your game plan should immediately
They
pop
go
into your
forest
head.
past.
And
You know they're on mono green devotion.
yeah,
Yeah.
like if they're forest pass, yeah, that's got to be mono green devotion. Could it be green white? Like, is there a green white deck? Is there a green black deck?
Mhm.
Is there a green red deck? Do you know of any? Like,
That's what's going
all
through your
these
mind.
things should
Yeah.
be popping in your head immediately. If he's playing forest, like in modern a long time ago, if they were to play forest go, and you didn't immediately think they're on scape shift, you're doing something wrong because like that's the only deck that's playing Forest Go in that format. Like they're
Really?
gonna play a mana ramp turn two, so you need to know that you're dead on turn 4 or 5.
You need to
So
pivot
like
right there. You need to
right then,
before
as
you
soon as you
draw.
see Forest Go, okay, well like my game plan went from either hold back the removal spell to all right, I need to go ham, like play my creatures,
Mhm.
get them dead, or I'm not gonna win. So
Yeah.
like the game you play more sideboard games than you play main deck games.
Mhm.
At least in not
Yeah, but it's
CDH,
fine.
EDH,
Yeah,
in
competitively.
regular
Yeah.
competitive Magic, you play more sideboard games
Yeah.
than you play regular games. There's always a game one, but
Yep.
it's still two games
Sideboard's
after that.
everything, right?
Sideboard is very
Yep.
important. So, like,
I've
if
heard that
you
before.
do, which a lot of people do, they play test, and that's fine. You want to play test your deck. You want to see if your deck is cohesive and make sure your main deck is good with a solid game plan. But like, your sideboard matters so much more. Like,
Mhm.
if you have a good deck, but you know you're going to lose games 2 and 3 a lot when they sideboard, like Dredge is the perfect example of that, where it's
Well,
like the best game one deck, but it's so vulnerable game 2 and 3
yeah.
when they know you have a good game plan against
Mhm.
graveyard hate.
Yep.
So like it's just when you're playing those high level matches, you need to know not only like what you're going to be doing in game one, but like game two and games three are going to be very important. If you're on the play game one and you win,
Mhm.
they're going to be on the play game two.
Game
So
two.
like
Yep.
make sure you board in your earlier removal spells or whatever,
Mhm.
like board out the higher converted mana cost cards. Then in game three, when you're back on the play, you might want to change things. It's not always just, well, these cards are good against this deck, so board them in. And another thing is, especially with people following guides and following like walkthroughs or whatever, like I'm I was told I sideboard these cards out and bring in these cards against this deck. It's not always going to be the same.
Mhm.
You need to like be able to pivot based on personal card choices that you see against them. And not only that, but if everybody followed this guide,
Mhm.
then when you catch somebody off guard,
Mhm.
it just blows their mind because
Mhm.
wait, everybody says to board out Mana Leak in the mirror matchup.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I left a few in to catch you off
Mm.
guard.
Dude, that's so comparable
Now
to CDH, dude, because we don't have that, but we have deck building. Oh, that's just a blue farm. Oh, okay. I'm gonna show you this blue blast. That's not in blue farm. It's in my list. I gotcha.
it's in my
And
list.
now I just shit on
Yeah,
you. I just countered your dockside, and you were not ready for it. That's hilarious. I love how comparable that is. But you're so right. Yeah, everyone says to do that to Mana Leak. I'm good.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
if you keep people guessing, especially like I said, when you catch people off guard with it, like I caught somebody off guard in the Delver Mirror like in 2011 or 2010 at a Grand Prix
Mhm.
in Orlando, and I mana leaked his Sword of War and Peace that he was like thought for sure was going to resolve and he was going to be able to equip it, and his whole like demeanor changed. And at the end of the game, she's like, I mean, like everybody says you're supposed to board out Mana Leak. Like, why do you leave Mana Leak? And I was, you got to keep him guessing, man.
Yeah,
You
because I
can't.
just got you, and
You,
I just won the
you
game.
can't
That's
if I did what I was everybody
supposed to do.
says you're supposed to do, then
Dude, I
like
couldn't. God, I
you
love that.
can't
I love that.
you can't you
Yep. Do
yeah
you know Zer
you
the
have to
Enchanter? He's
be
an Esper commander. Do you know that
Yeah, I
card?
am familiar with
So
Zerg.
he's really big on necropotence, and he's like the boogeyman of
Yeah.
CDH 5 years ago. Well, now I just built him because there's more like flash effects, like Born Upon a Wind, Valley Flood Caller just got printed. So I just want to say this little quick story. The same thing. So I was playing last weekend, and they're like, "Oh, it's Zur necropotence win," and it's an Esper. It's not really in red in CDH, so it doesn't explode like that. So I'd rather tutor for a Ristic Study of Mr. Kimura. Well, anyways, the guy was going to win the game. He had 2 lands, but he had a bunch of treasures and a bunch of mana rocks, right? And he already packed a negation, and he was right after me. And if I say pass, he wins the game, right? So I'm like, hey guys, listen, I'm going to cast a Zur, and I have a Lightning Greaves. Give it haste. Don't interact with my Zur because I'm going to stop him from winning. And he was like, well, I don't see that. There's no way. There's no way you can necropotent, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's trying to guess what I'm doing, and I'm like 3 steps ahead of him. I'm like, okay, cool. Zur, does it resolve? Okay, cool. Resolves. Okay, Lightning Greaves, go to attack. And the other guy was like, get a Ristic Study or Mr. Kimura. I don't think he can win through that. And I'm like, I got it, bro. I fucking slammed him a Stony Silence.
Mm.
You know, that does 1 in a white,
Yeah.
can't activate artifacts. And he was
Right.
like, well, I'm going to respond. You can't respond. It already, the trigger, the attack trigger, you pass priority on the attack trigger. There is no responding until I do something. And he was like, well, fuck, I'm just dead then. Because he had 2 lands and a dark writ. That's not 5 mana to pay for back negation. And he just died. And he's like, you got me because I didn't know what you were doing. I'm like, exactly. You thought I was going to bring in a Mr. Kimura necropotence. I just shit on you. And then also the blue farm player had like 8 treasures that are sandbagging for ad nauseum. So I'd shit on those 2 players. And then I'm 1v1ing somebody else. And they were like,
right.
What the fuck? Stony Silence isn't in
Yeah.
Zur. Today it is.
Today it is.
Because you weren't ready for it. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
good. I appreciate your time, dude. It's been over an hour. That was awesome.
Oh, okay.
Any last words? Anything you want to plug or anything crazy?
No, I mean, just everyone keep playing Magic. It's a
Keep
great
playing
game.
fucking Magic. I agree with you.
Everyone should play.
Yeah, that
It's
reminds
the
me. I
best
wanted to ask you,
game.
are you retired at the moment? Or you just
I mean, I guess you could technically say that. Like, I play on Arena. I play on Magic Online. So like,
you never
I
really
hit Mythic.
retired.
I hit Mythic every month just from playing casually on my phone.
Okay.
You know, so like, yes, I'm retired, but
Like,
I'm never gonna stop playing.
you're retired from like competitive play right now because you have a young kid.
For now, yeah. I mean, I'm sure in like a year or two, there's gonna be like a local RCQ. I show up, I do well in, and then I'm gonna get the
You're
fever
gonna get the bug.
Be like, come on, man, let's go to this tournament in Orlando. Yeah, let's go.
Shit,
like,
all
I
right.
can do that now. Once he's not like a toddler, you know,
right.
He can kind of understand. Hey, I'm gonna be doing something.
Wait until he wants to play with you. I have a 12-year-old that
yeah.
he has a casual dinosaur deck. Wait until he's like, Dad, come on. I know you're scared to play with me, play against me. I'm like, bro, I will wipe the floor with you. Dad, do you know how to play Magic the Gathering, Dad? And you're like, all right, come here. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Let me teach some lessons. It's going to happen. Dad, are you any good at Magic? Oh, am I?
No. Oh, am I? Let me show you the trophies. I've got them.
I've got them hidden. Closet.
Yeah, I got him hidden. I didn't want you to know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's a little gamer already.
Is he?
You know, he's 2, but he plays PlayStation games.
2?
Yeah, 2. He
awesome.
Plays Spider-Man and Hogwarts, and he loves Mario. And
start him young, dog. Get him some Pokemon cards. Get him in there, dog.
He watches me play. You know, it's funny on Arena they have those little the little pet icons or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like I have one that's like the spirited companion is my little.
Oh yeah, I understand. On the right, I play Arena every day too.
Yeah, because he loves dogs. So every time he sees me playing Arena, he just points to the dog. He's like puppy, and he wants to touch the little icon because it does a little dance or whatever. Yeah, it does dance. So he already is like obsessed with me playing. So he'll start asking like, what are the cards? You know, I know he will. He's curious. He can't read yet. Once they can start reading,
don't let him grow up too fast.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. But I appreciate it, man. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you guys learned something as I did. That's why I started the podcast. I learned so much. I was like, what format are you talking about? But that's all the time we have for today. Everyone have a good day. You heard Gindy here first. Play some fucking Magic, guys.
Play some Magic.
Y'all have a good
man.
day. See you later. I'm signing off. See ya.
Have a good day.